was in June 1919 when British aviators Alcock and Brown made the first non-stop transatlantic flight, taking about 16 hours. Over the next 40 years, various operators began to fly passengers across the Atlantic. The first transatlantic jet flights took place on October 4, 1958, when 80 passengers boarded a BOAC flight in both London and New York to fly by two de Havilland Comet 4s to the other city. The flight time was a little over 6 hours. In 1969, Boeing launched its 747. The layout allowed room for bars and a piano lounge, but these were quickly scrapped in favour of more seating. The 747 carried almost 350 passengers and encouraged the masses to travel. In the early 1970s, Freddie Laker began a SkyTrain service between London and New York. The no-frills seats cost just £35. Competitors were charging 4 times this amount. Concorde began service in 1976, cutting the travelling time in half and bucking the trend quantity. Concorde carried just 100 passengers with luxury food and wine, but as for comfort, the seats were small, really small. However, the cost of his supersonic travel became prohibited. When carrying 850 passengers, an A380 made the 747 look small. Let's look at how their legroom has changed over the years. The Comet 4 had almost 38 inches pitch, distance from your seat's headrest to the one in front. The seats in the Boeing 747 in the 1970s reduced this down to 34 inches. These days, the Boeing 747 now has a pitch of just 31 inches. Often the media suggests that air passenger safety is declining, but statistics suggest the opposite. In the early years of the jet age, as designers discovered the dangers of flying higher and faster were the most dangerous ever, with 40 passengers dying for every million passengers flying. Improvements in plane design, sensors, navigational equipment and anti-collision control systems have all helped to make the current decade the safest in aviation history, with less than one passenger fatality to every billion passengers flying. That's over 40,000 times safer than in the 1950s. On that positive thought, back to the studio.